Here we go. Welcome to the Burgundy Brigade Podcast. I am your host, Kevin Goff, at BRG Brigade Kevin. Joined again by Aaron Music, at Avalangelist, and Callie Agnew, at Callie Avs Agnew. How are we doing tonight, everybody?
Oh, we're doing just fine.
Good.
Yeah, I haven't played in 10 games. I'm starting to feel normal.
They haven't lost in that amount of time.
Yep, see?
That's a big deal. It's a big deal nowadays.
Kind of a big deal. Right.
Staying warm down there in Denver.
We're not Chicago, so...
Fair.
Today I worked in short sleeves, so yeah.
Hey. All right.
Despite the fact it was a blizzard conditions on Monday.
I gotta love Colorado. Colorado snow, and then it's gone in just a moment.
Yep.
A fleeting second, really.
Yes, indeed. So, well, we've been gone for a little while here. With the last time we had our little holiday podcast, where we aired our grievances with the Colorado Avalanche at the time. Sadly, it does not seem that many of those grievances have gone away. The Avs have continued their slide into the All-Star break. Since December 3rd, the Avalanche are 6-13-4, something like that, yes?
Yeah.
Worst in the NHL.
That's a playoff number.
Huh?
That's a playoff number.
Sure.
Doing that'll get you to the playoffs. No shot.
No shot. Yeah. It's been atrocious and frustrating all at the same time, as they've had stretches where they have been completely dominant, like doubling up Winnipeg and Calgary, really dominating both teams, but in giving up 18 shots.
Goaltending.
Yeah, but gave up 18 shots, but 5 goals or whatnot on each of those. Yeah. Goaltending, absolutely atrocious. Other nights when the goaltending was finally there, they couldn't score. And then some nights, similar to the Minnesota Wild game the night before the All-Star break, where just all of it just went, and nobody bothered to play any part of that game. And the Avalanche somehow, after all of that, still sit in the second wild card spot. I mean, I don't know what to make of it. What do we think of the? I mean, obviously it's not good, but what are our thoughts on the way the Avs kind of face planted into the All-Star break?
Well, they just need some consistent goaltending, and I mean, they need a goaltender to make some saves that they probably shouldn't, because otherwise it's just going to be so frustrating to watch them be down 2-0 before they get going.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just kind of all around frustrating.
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
It's kind of hard to explain just because of how they started the season. This team looks like they did a complete 180, and they're the exact opposite of how they were. And it's hard to explain how that happened and what caused that to happen. But it's like they face planted through the entire month of December, right on into the break.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, It started with goaltending. The goaltending was the thing that slipped, and everything else just kind of went off kilter trying to make up for it.
Yeah, it's just the consistency has gone completely, and it's not. I mean, and it's not just one area. The consistency, obviously, in the goaltending went away. The consistency in their defensive structure went away. The consistency in their offensive aggression went away. I mean, if you think about it, the first 2 months of the season, what was the expected conclusion as soon as the Avalanche were on a power play? They went through some 12-game stretch where their power play was like 50%, which obviously was never going to continue. But now,
right.
you get the Avalanche on a power play, and they just sit there and pussyfoot around the entire time and dink and dunk and blue de blue. I mean, there was that stretch earlier in the year where the second power play unit was better than the first power play unit, and the first power play unit was still rocking. Was still rocking, and that second power play unit, as soon as it stepped on the ice, they just went to work. It was business. And now none of them are doing it. It's just the power play, it's not working. The defense is not working. The goaltending's not working. Everything's not working consistently right now. And it's just blah. Really, really hard to watch.
Much like a team that's trying to do everything perfectly. And that goes well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's kind of what led to the beginning of the 48-point season. They were having really crappy goaltending again. And the players were all just pressing, trying to be perfect because they thought they had to. And the result of that is if one thing goes wrong, you have a hard time trying to recover.
Yeah,
But what even starts that mindset?
You know,
like what causes that flip?
It's a loss of focus.
So maybe around like vacation time.
Well, the thing that kind of drives me nuts is the Avs don't play a very mature game. They don't get pucks deep. They take a lot of low percentage plays instead of the high percentage one, which leads to a turnover, which leads to a goal.
Cutesy, yeah.
It just take the high percentage plays. It's something that they did really well last year around this time, and they've just slipped off of that. And they're not attacking with the same speed. When you don't take those high percentage plays, you lose your speed. You can't attack anymore because you're having to go back and defend all of a sudden.
Yeah, all that momentum. You see it a lot when the Avs are in that mode, and instead of getting the puck in, you see one guy trying to deke through three people at the blue line, and while you've got four people rushing the blue line ready to try to create some offense, and then suddenly the puck's going the other way.
One of them's offsides because they just deked when everyone's trying to rush in.
The Alex Tanguay special, yeah.
Yeah.
If they could just keep their game mature, taking bad penalties.
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord.
I mean, how many times do they take a penalty 200 feet from their own net?
Yeah.
There's just a lot of this team that's playing very immature, and frankly, they're not young enough to get away with it.
I agree completely. I mean, we've seen that sort of immature play, all that stuff that you've described from this team lots of times in the past. And people are always quick to jump to that's the coach's job. But this is stuff that's happened over, how many different coaches now?
Yeah.
It's been going on for a long time. I feel like at this point, I feel like that's becoming or should have become already a pretty severe indictment of the player leadership. Because, let's face it, some of the time, a decent chunk of the time through that stretch, not as much in the last year and a half, but in this last 6 weeks, Gabe Landeskog is one of the worst offenders at that bad penalty thing.
Yeah.
He's had a good season this year.
Absolutely. The guy's almost got 30 goals. But again, it's like you look back at that Chicago game in Pepsi Center. Gabe Landeskog goes and clocks a guy in the face and gets a 4-minute penalty 30 seconds before overtime starts.
Right.
You cannot do that shit. And
he definitely has his moments, but he's also been their best defensive forward.
Of course.
I just wish the Avs would be more mature as a whole. And part of me wonders if that maturity has to come from a different coach.
But, we've said that for 3 coaches.
Yeah, the only thing that makes me say that is there's a very high-profile coach that's out there.
I know you.
Right now.
Aaron's
You're
Jones and
fair with him.
Aaron's
Good Lord.
Is
Jonesing for some Quenville.
Yeah.
He wants that cue.
He's an outstanding coach.
Of course,
the Blackhawks actually went down as a team when they fired him.
Well, as if that wasn't predictable.
Well, he kept a really shitty roster in Chicago together and kept them playing better hockey than they are now. That says something.
Yeah, I don't know if he wants to come out of retirement this year.
Oh, I don't think it'll be this year. I'm just saying he's the only one I would think about replacing.
Yeah.
He's the only one I would think about bringing in. He's the only high-profile name that I would think about.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of any other names off the top of my head that are even available. I mean, or that would be wanted for sure. Quenneville certainly tops that list. Again, it's just one of those. Does Joel Quenneville want to come coach a young team that might or might not be finally ready to take that step, or does he just want to get in there to a place where he knows he can go and possibly win?
Didn't he do that about 10 years ago with Chicago?
Yeah, 10 years ago and before the 3 Stanley Cups he now has.
Yeah, and he was kind of the last piece to put it all together.
Yeah, but again, that was 10 years ago. Is he still that guy who wants to go in and do that? I'm not saying he couldn't at all. Of course he could. He's an amazing coach. No, that is not in dispute. The question is he in the place in his life and in his career where that's what he wants?
I mean, if he was to go anywhere, there's a limited places he would go to.
Of course.
I feel like the Avs have a lot of those pieces to make it happen.
Well, time shall try, I suppose. I don't know. I still think it's early to discount Bednar here.
Oh, it's totally early. There, as I said, there's only one person I would think about doing this with.
Yeah.
And he just happened. Okay, there's 2. And one of them happens to be available.
Who's
the other one? Is Gerard Gallant.
Ah. I might say Claude Julien.
Julien, yeah. Okay, Julien, Trotz, Gallant, Quenneville.
Yeah,
those are about my 4 favorite coaches.
And Joel Quenneville's the only one available.
Right.
Of course. Well, it's other things that have been going on. Kind of in the last few games of this stretch, Tyson Jost was sent down to the AHL, which I think most people agree was warranted, and maybe even a little overdue.
Well. It did him well.
Yeah, let him build some confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had 3 goals and a couple assists.
That's exactly what they wanted. They wanted him to go back down there and get the feeling again for what it's like to have things go well and to get them see the puck going in and realize that he's still a good hockey player and have that feeling again of being one of the better guys on the ice. Of course, now he's injured.
Yeah.
Which, oh boy,
that's not ideal.
Another Tyson Jost injury. I mean, it's unfortunate, and sure, it's still young, and I don't know the details of his injury at all. In fact, I only just saw anything about it just before we started getting on the line here.
It's a hockey injury. It's an upper body injury, so that could be anything from his head to his left kneecap.
Yeah, for real.
That's all we'll ever get, too. No one will ever know.
Yep.
The only time they're specific is if it's a concussion.
Yeah.
That's when they say concussion protocol, he's going to be out for a while.
Right.
So it's tough. I mean, it's tough. I mean, I don't know what to think about Jost. This is another injury now. I guess we just have to wait and see again. I don't know. It may be. Obviously you're pulling for him to come through, but if this is a regular thing for him, just more injuries, this is going to be. I mean, Tyson Jost likely won't be a long stayer in Colorado. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say that I don't want to go out and try to declare him a bust or anything, but he certainly has been not making the steps you want to see from him.
Yeah, at some point you kind of want to know if a team's going to take him on as sort of like a piece to a trade that they think they can do a reclamation project on him.
Yep.
I think that's kind of...
Personally, I wanted to see him with the Eagles about a month.
That's what I wanted as well.
But they said short term, which I think isn't the best for his development, but it might be kind of what they want as a team, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, they're in an unfortunate situation where they could have done this earlier in his career and really helped him, and now he's kind of in no man's land.
Yeah. Definitely an unfortunate situation that they created for themselves.
Yeah.
Yep.
And for him.
Yeah. I mean, their own success kind of worked on this too, because I mean his first like right out of college, he looked pretty decent. Obviously young, very green, had to adjust, and then they kind of figured that they would just continue to be bad or bad enough the next season that it wouldn't matter if he was playing in the NHL. He'll learn as he goes, and then suddenly they were good.
Yeah.
Well, and suddenly Carl Soderberg stepped up and was taking a lot of the minutes and shifts that he would get. Yeah. And he wasn't playing well enough to warrant taking them away. And they were in the playoff hunt, and Kerfoot came around. And
yep. Yeah,
development in NHL's prospects is rarely linear.
Very true. Very, very, very true. It's tough to say. So I don't know. I hope he does. Hope he gets better from whatever it is, and is able to have a decent end to the rest of the season. But man, if it's going to start getting tough, looking for what to do with him if this is an end of the season type of injury. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, with all the struggles that are going on, yet still being in the playoff picture, it makes a very interesting lead-in for the next couple of weeks. Obviously, the trade deadline is fast approaching. We are now into February. February 25th, is that the deadline this year?
I believe it is.
Right in there? So, yeah, it's got basically 2-3 weeks to decide what kind of team they're going to be. Are they going to be a seller? Are they going to be a buyer?
Are they going to do nothing?
Are they going to do nothing? Are they going to stand pat? I know, Aaron, you wanted to talk about this, so I'm going to kind of shoot it over to you a bit here. And, what are the next 2 weeks going to mean for the Avs as they approach the deadline?
Well, to be perfectly honest, we have to see where they go in the standings. Because if they can put together a run in the next 2 weeks and they get 5-6 wins, okay, you can start thinking about, okay, do we move our first round draft pick? Are we okay losing one that's probably going to be in the mid-teens? Or do we want to or say you get 2-3 wins and suddenly that draft pick slips into the top 10 range, to the point where you say, no, I don't think I will. And because a lot of teams will ask for that draft pick. Especially since the Avs have 2, they'll be like, oh, you have a second one. You can just throw in your first. What do you need it for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, first-round picks are definitely the currency of the trade deadline, that's for sure.
Yeah, especially since they don't really have a prospect that doesn't really whet the appetite. Maybe AJ Greer, maybe Tyson Jost. You're not going to move Cale McCarr. Connor Timmins is hurt. Martin Kaut is off the board.
Yeah.
So maybe Shane Bowers if the deal is really, really nice.
The Avs are high on him, though.
They are high on him, but I don't know that they're necessarily so high that they would say they're going to look at trading for Artemi Panarin. I don't know that they're high enough on Bowers to leave him out of that trade. So I think the next 2 weeks you'll find out what the Avs are going to do. Are they going to do something moderately big or something really small? I imagine they're going to bring in another forward of some forms.
You'd think
because they still have just 4 or 5 of them that can score at the NHL level consistently.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
Go ahead.
If you're lucky. I said maybe if you're lucky they have 4 or 5.
You have the top line, Soderberg, and then comfort occasionally.
Every now and then.
That's about the list.
Yeah, about right.
Yeah.
You have Tyson Berry, who puts up points, but you're not going to move him until the draft. So.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know if they moved him or not.
Oh, I'm sure. I feel like they're going to.
Yeah.
I feel like it's time. I do. Mostly because they're not going to want to. I mean, if they don't move him by the deadline, then they basically have until the trade. I'm sorry. If they don't move him by the draft, then they basically have until the next trade deadline to move him, and they're not going to get as much for him at the trade deadline there because they're not going to want to pay him. That's going to because paying Tyson Berry is going to end up being a preventative thing, whereas you got to pay Mikko Rantanen, and you've got the space to deal with that. Then in a few years you're going to need to pay Nathan McKinnon. Signing Tyson Berry to big money long term will have a huge impact on that.
Right. And you just have so many prospects that are like him that it doesn't make sense to keep him around.
Yeah, it's just hard until they play out, putting all your trust in them.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, totally. But
we bitch and complain about Berry.
What's that?
Yeah. I said, as much as we bitch and complain about Berry, like, his numbers are a little bit ridiculous.
Oh, they're very ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy. It's crazy that he can spend so long being very average to bad defensively, yet he's always picks up he's always got his points.
Yeah.
Always gets his points, no matter what.
Like, he's our fourth leading in points.
And he usually is. He's that good.
Yeah. That's why it's just hard to give him up for that ability. He just needs to be with a super defensive defenseman.
Yeah.
Which is hard to find in the NHL now.
And if you give him up, it's going to be for an elite scoring forward anyway. So you're going to replace some of that point total from the defense to the forwards.
Yeah. And I mean, as much as you need, that's kind of the big conversation around it. Is you're essentially there's a lot of discussion of if you're trading Tyson Berry to get someone who can be a solid top six forward on your team, you're essentially just moving where the points come from. So it's kind of a push coming from. Right. But at the same time. At the same time, as valuable as those defensemen are, we are seeing exactly why the Avalanche need to make this move right now. They have one line that can do anything, and it just got broken up apparently according to practice today.
Good Lord. Don't even get me started.
I'm sorry. So I feel like it's the time to do it. You've got Cale Makar coming in. You're expecting a lot of good things coming from Cale Makar. He may not get in this season simply because the UMass Amherst looks like they're going to go deep into this Frozen Four thing. So, but even so, you get him starting in their next season. His ceiling seems that it could be just as high, if not higher, than Tyson Berry's.
Oh, I would say it looks higher.
Yeah.
His skating ability is so natural now.
He's better defensively.
And he's got a better shot.
And
you guys saw one of the plays that he had today.
Yeah, I was just going to say, bro comes in like a wrecking ball.
And if you see some of the shifts, like full shifts that he has, it's incredible.
Yeah. He's got some skill. So it's one of those, you're rolling the dice on it, but it seems like a pretty decent bet.
Yeah.
To me, he's smarter than most. I know that sounds horrible, how it just came out, but he's smarter than most because he pays attention to his body and how he's feeling, and he'll turn something down if he's not feeling it.
Yeah.
And he's also got a bit of a stocky build to him, so even though he's not big, he's still got a good amount of size to him. He's not going to get totally manhandled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So let's play a little bit of what if here. We'll not go quite into the trade to the specifics of it yet, but let's say the Avs. So first, let's look at the schedule here. The Avs start back tomorrow. They're at home against Vancouver. A couple days off, home against Columbus. Then they are at Washington, at the New York Islanders, at the Boston Bruins. Tough 3-game stretch. Back home for 1 game versus Toronto. Back out to Winnipeg. Back home against St. Louis. Then they have a 3-game homestand there. St. Louis, Vegas, and Winnipeg takes them to February 20th. Then they have back-to-back at Chicago, at Nashville before the trade deadline, which they are playing on, which I still think no team should be playing on the trade deadline, but that's just me.
Mm-hmm.
Not an easy stretch by any means at all. A lot of divisional games. That stretch against Washington, Islanders, and Boston. That's a little murderer's row right there. So let's say the Avs get, that's how many games? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They got 12 games before the deadline. Let's say they go 6, 3, and 3. Right? 6 wins. They get 15 points. That's likely going to be good. That's pretty good, right? They're almost assuredly still be in a playoff spot at that point. Maybe even moved up a little. Come to the deadline, what sort of stuff are you looking at?
A goalie.
Hard to argue.
Probably a top 6 scoring forward.
Okay. Although goalie, top 6 scoring forward. Okay. How willing are you to make a big deal at that point? How willing are you to move Colorado's first-round pick? Not Ottawa's, Colorado's.
Assuming it's not a rental, 100% I'm all in.
How about you, Callie?
Yeah, I think that's the big nuance to it. It can't be someone that we're going to have for a short-term thing, because I don't think we're necessarily a short-term team just yet, kind of in that final push for the cup, but definitely a longer-term asset.
Right.
Think that's likely? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Do you think that type of player is likely, the one who's not just going to be a rental, but someone that you can count on for a while?
I mean, there's a few options, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah. It'd have to be like a monumental trade.
And I kept hearing it today. The name that keeps popping in is Artemi Panarin, that the Avs are poking around at him.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing too.
Yeah, he's almost guaranteed to be a rental.
You would think so, but the Avs have enough money to actually sign him if they wanted to. It's about if he would want to come here.
Yeah.
That's like if he would want to stay here.
For sure. I have no problem with them poking around to see if what it would take. I think they'd be doing a disservice to themselves if they didn't. Absolutely. He's a tricky guy, though. I mean, with his agent just saying he's not even going to talk contract until the off season.
Yeah, and it would be a huge risk, which is you would have to put a whole bunch of modifiers on the deal. Like if he signs, you get a first round draft pick. If he doesn't, that first turns into a second or something like that.
Yeah, I could see that.
As obvious as it, I have to say this: we are not moving the Ottawa pick, despite what other fan bases think we is.
Hey! I was planning on sending all of our first round picks for the next 10 years, Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon, and several people, all to the New York Rangers for Kevin Hayes. Straight up, just like that. No other things.
Wow, that's a bold strategy.
I mean,
everyone's dying.
Did you see that one the other day? I retweeted one that was like Kevin Hayes and Adam McQuaid to the Avs, and the return was, I forget what the specific return was, but God, it was like
stupid.
It was Zadorov. I gotta find it because it was just awful. It was so stupid. While I look for that, let's reverse it a little bit. Let's say the Avs instead of going 6-3-3, let's say they go 3-5 and that would be what 3-5-4, something in there where they're just not winning. Maybe they're not they're maybe just holding on for dear life, and they are still like within shouting distance of that second wild card, but maybe they're just out of it. What are your thoughts then? Is that desperation time? Still try to make the same move to hopefully keep up with it?
At that point, I wouldn't do anything, and I'd just sell off as much. Like, if we're at that point and things aren't going very well, I seriously look at a guy like Alexander Kerfoot and see what he can bring.
Ooh, throwing out Kerfoot, eh?
Yeah.
Because if that's true, I kind of see Kerfoot as being part of the problem and not part of the solution. And he could actually bring back a piece that would be a little more helpful.
Yeah.
I don't know. He just frustrates me sometimes.
Yeah, me too.
Same. Oh, I found the trade proposal, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Here, this was the trade proposal to the Avs goes Kevin Hayes, Adam McQuaid, and the Rangers' 4th round draft pick in 2019. To the Rangers, Nikita Zadorov, Tyson Jost, and the Avs' 2019 1st round draft pick.
No.
I don't know. That sounds fair to me in opposite land.
In opposite land.
It's like the false trade proposal I put out. Kings give up a DVD of Good Burger, 2 items off the value menu from In You Know, some used string, and Jonathan Quick. For the Avs, Cale Makar, Ottawa first, and Sam Girard.
Nailed it.
Boom.
Even Kings fans chirped in on that and said, "Yeah, that's pretty right. That's how we're feeling at this point."
Oh, mercy. All right.
Mic drop, walk away.
What's that?
I said mic drop, walk away.
Yeah.
Another one that seems to be floating around that people really want is Big Z. And I really don't want to give him up. I like Big Z.
Yeah, that was interesting. That one came from Elliot Friedman.
It would take a royal ransom for me to give up Zadorov.
Absolutely.
You don't have anything to replace him. He's not going to be hugely expensive on his next contract. So I'm just willing to, ride this thing out.
Absolutely. The Avalanche have nobody else like him on their team. And
yeah,
They could
don't have
use another.
any representation of him or Johnson.
Yeah. Go ahead, Callie. You were trying to jump in there, too.
Great.
Oh, whoop, you still there? Uh-oh. Did we lose Callie?
So she's still connected.
Oh, there it is. I'm back.
Okay, phew. Okay, yeah.
I'm like driving through like little dead zones, and it'll disappear for a little bit, and then I'm back.
Well, be safe driving.
I'm hands-free.
Oh, okay. That's good.
You're on my Bluetooth, don't worry.
So let's look at it this way. Let's say the Avs just continue this horrific tank. It's still the same nonsense. Maybe they win. Maybe they win a couple. Maybe they win 3 games, but no other extra points. They're 3 and basically 9 in the next little bit here. So they're likely sliding down farther. What are you talking about here at that point?
Pick up an extra first.
Yeah.
Get a 3rd first. Yeah, I like that. Who's your major bait for that? Probably Tyson Barrie.
Probably. Tyson Barrie, Tyson Jost, Carl Soderberg.
We have no more Tyson Tuesdays?
Yeah, probably not.
Sad.
Okay. Well, let's see here. We one of the things that we.
Okay.
I'm sorry. No, I was just moving forward. Tyson Tuesdays.
Wow, thanks. You just ignored my broken heart. Just
I'm
move
sorry.
along.
I'm sorry.
Not sensitive at all.
Okay.
We didn't say both. We, maybe one or the other. Uh-oh. Did we just lose her? Okay, she's back again. All the dead spots. So let's go ahead and move forward here. One of the things we were talking about doing coming into this is looking at some potential trades that the Avalanche might make for the deadline, even things you might like to see the Avalanche make more long term. So I've come with a few. Aaron, I'm sure you've got a few. Callie's got a few or a couple. I don't know how many.
Entire off season.
Oh boy, is this that one you sent to me a while ago?
You're darn right it is.
Oh man, let's go ahead and lead with that then, shall we? Or do we want to make that the coup de grace?
Make that the coup de grace.
All right, that'll be the coup de grace. All right, so we'll lead with. So Callie, do you have what's your first?
You guys start.
Okay, I'll start with I'll start with one that I think the Avs would look at, especially if they're kind of in the slide, looking to maybe offload a couple of guys. I think the Avalanche could look at a team like Vegas to possibly offload Sven Andrighetto. Sven Andrighetto to Las Vegas. I think you could pull either a second or third round draft pick out of Vegas for Sven. It's not a glamorous pick, but it's one that gets a little bit of asset back from a guy who's just not working out anymore in the system. It's kind of disappointing, especially the way he just lit the world on fire when he showed up. In what was still one of it was still a good trade that got him. I mean, he was 1-for-1 with
Andreas Martin.
Yeah, Andreas Martinson. That was the name fell right out of my ears. Andreas Martinson, and I mean everybody still looks at that draft that particular trade. In fact, most people still think a lot of people are still talking about Sven Andrighetto as a waiver pickup, and that was not what happened. He was traded 1-for-1 for Andreas Martinson.
He could have been a waiver pickup.
He could have been a waiver
where the confusion lies.
Yes, indeed. So I think Avs could get maybe if depending on how desperate Vegas is feeling, I think they might be able to get a second round pick for Sven.
Okay, I think they're going to do a deal with New York Rangers here, and they're going to send AJ Greer in a AJ Greer in a second for Kevin Hayes.
Going with Kevo, huh? There's a lot of mixed emotions on Kevin Hayes.
I have a lot of mixed emotions on that. I don't know that that's necessarily one that I really want, but it's one I think will happen.
Interesting. Okay. All right, Callie, over to you.
So, as you guys know, because I already talked about it, I'm not very good at the whole trades thing. A lot of them I still have no freaking idea because I overvalue our guys. But just as far as players that I love and someone that I would want to see on the Avs that will probably never happen is Eric Goodbranson. I don't know how you guys feel about him, but he's with Vancouver, big defenseman. I really enjoy how he plays, and I hate playing against him. What the value is, I don't know. But I really want to see him in an Avs jersey one day.
Cool.
I can get behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Goody.
Goody. Yeah, cool. Let's, Aaron, why don't you go for another one here? It's not time for your big one yet. Do you have another one?
Let me think through this just a little bit. You kind of poked my head onto something with Vegas.
Okay. Take a look. I have another one that I'll throw out here. It's another one that involves Sven Andrighetto, although I could see any number of a couple of other guys possibly taking his place depending on what it looks like. But this is actually, and this was hard for me to do. But I think that with the way they are basement hugging again, the Avs might have an interesting trade partner in the Detroit Red Wings.
I've thought the same thing.
I would specifically want I'm also not great at the trade, making up a few the trade's value is so hard to judge because it's so subjective. But I would love the Avalanche to target Andreas Athanasiou. I say the Detroit gets Sven Andrighetto, Colorado's second-round pick, and maybe if they need a little extra sweetener, and I hated typing this, maybe AJ Greer. I feel like that would be, for a team that's going to be rebuilding as Detroit is, they'll like a young prospect who's playing very well in the AHL. Really probably shouldn't be in the AHL anymore, but if the Avs are in that spot where they just don't want to give him a shot, he would get a shot in Detroit. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of doing a favor to him as well, even though it's Detroit. Same with Andrighetto. I mean,
not as hated as they were.
What's that?
I said not as hated as they once were.
Very true. Playing them twice a year.
Except for one player.
Yeah. Shares a name with another so beloved player.
I tell you, when you just happen to have that name, you're just naturally born piece of crap. But whatever. Second round pick might get it, but I think Athanasiou would be an outstanding addition to the Avalanche. The way he skates, the hunger he has for the puck, I think he would be an excellent middle six forward for the team. That would just really, he would do a lot of great stuff for the Avs. I would love to see.
A lot of speed to the bottom six with actual talent, unlike Gabriel Bort.
Right.
Oh, God.
And if you're
now that shall not be named.
Yeah. Lime salad. Woo.
Yeah, woo. It's great.
Callie, do you have another one you would toss out there, or another player you'd want the Avalanche to target?
Honestly, I just really want them to get a giant goalie. I don't even care, who it is at this point. I like giant goalies. We can never score on them. They're always a thorn in our side. We talked about it a little bit before, but I don't know. I'm kind of tired of small goalies.
Yeah. Would you have them target Sergei Bobrovsky? I know he's not a giant goalie, but he certainly is an elite goalie, even though he's been woefully bad, not as good this year.
The thing that frustrates me about him, too, is that he got in trouble with the team for, team issues.
Yeah.
So that just makes me question that a little bit as well. And especially if you're coming to a team that's kind of in the spot where the Avs are, where things are a little bit shaky with us right now. A guy that's going to come in and maybe have issues with the team might not be the best problem solver for us right now. But who knows? He might just need a change of scenery and a change of team, but it's hard to say. He's also getting up there in age, so.
Very true.
I'm not a huge fan of Bobrovsky.
Yeah.
Just playing style, I just don't think you can really win with him.
You're only saying that because no one ever has.
For goaltenders?
Yeah.
Well, that's time for the big trade.
Uh-oh.
Ooh, here we go.
Uh-oh. Well, do you want it to be the last one? Because I haven't... What's that?
So did you figure out your Vegas first?
Yeah.
Because you said you wanted a minute to figure out your Vegas details.
Oh, it's not Vegas, it's actually Ottawa. I would send...
Well, I mean, I have another kind of larger one if you want to look at, that if you wanted to save your big, crazy offseason for last. Do you want to?
Yeah, I'll save the one, but I would send to Ottawa...
Oh, go ahead.
Trying to think this through. I would send them Matt Nietta, because they need some sort of salary to take back here. And AJ Greer and Nicholas Milosh for Ryan Zingle.
That much for Dzingel?
He's going to be expensive, but he's also, I think, worth it.
Nieto. So say that one more time. Nieto, Milosh,
and Greer.
And Greer. Okay, so it's mostly two prospects and a roster player, and Matt Nieto.
Would either of you go after Wayne Simmons?
Yes. I would actually see if... I would go after Wayne Simmons. It's going to be pretty cheap because he wants out.
How old is he now? How old is he now? That's honestly my only reluctance on him, is I don't know how old he is.
Him, I would be almost a straight rental on him. And I would give them a straight rental of Varlamov. Maybe a pick in there. I don't love him enough to put anything specific to him.
Yeah.
But I don't hate the idea of getting him.
Yeah, I mean...
If it's cheap enough.
If it's cheap enough, it'd be interesting, because he certainly brings... He certainly... Yeah, no, it's hard to not like his game. He does a lot of that dirty area stuff.
He's a good scorer. He's a good net
that you love him on your team, but you hate playing against him.
Yeah, exactly.
We need more of those guys.
Agreed. Big time.
Yeah.
All right, I've got
What's your pick?
So here, Callie, do you have another one you want to throw out there?
No, those were my big ones, pretty much.
Okay. All right. I still am kind of working out the minutia of this one, because I don't know that what I have would necessarily do it. And it would have to be. This is a pretty large one, but it's another team underperforming. Just fired their GM. We're talking the Edmonton Oilers.
We're getting McDavid?
You know it.
No.
We're going to flip McDavid for Kevin Hayes after we've acquired Kevin Hayes in that blockbuster deal with the Rangers. For all of our first-round picks for the next 10 years.
Oh,
God. There's one way that this is a hard one because I know they're not going to be keen to move him. But we know, for one, Edmonton has had their eye on Tyson Barrie forever.
Mm-hmm.
They need a guy like Tyson Barrie. The Avalanche need scoring on the wing. Big time. So the centerpieces to this trade are Leon Draisaitl and Tyson Barrie.
Okay.
So the Avalanche, here's what I have the Avalanche getting at the moment. I would say the Avalanche get Draisaitl, and the Avalanche do Edmonton a favor and take Milan Lucic.
See, I figured you were going there.
Edmonton retains 50% of Lucic's salary. Get Tyson Barrie, Tyson Jost, Ottawa's third-round pick, and I'd throw. There's one other piece that I would throw in there, and I just don't know what it would be yet.
It would probably take Shane Bowers to make that done.
And I would do that. I'll throw Shane Bowers in. Say Shane Bowers. That gives them, because they're looking to not necessarily rebuild. They want young pieces that are going to be coming in. Tyson Jost has NHL experience. Would hopefully do that. Shane Bowers, again, young player. They'd be able to control the contract. Not a quick fix. Not the older types. Would be able to move in there. They get another draft pick. That's probably basically going to be an equivalent to a late second-round pick, because Ottawa's last place in the league right now. The Avs do a favor for the Oilers and get Lucic mostly off their salary. The Avs don't take $6 million a year; they take $3 million a year on this. Lucic still has a no-move clause on his contract, but at the time of the next expansion draft, that new no-move clause becomes a modified no-trade clause. June 1st,
we can expose it.
Exactly. And that's when I would say, as the Avalanche, I would talk to Seattle and try to work something out in the 2021 year and say, hey, maybe if we give you a second-round draft pick, you take Milan Lucic off our hands. And that is my trade.
Oh, you went real deep on that.
I did go real deep on this.
Yeah, that was real deep.
I would love Leon Draisaitl on the Avalanche makes me like drool immensely.
Oh yeah, it would be sexy. There's no doubt about that.
That would Draisaitl. Would you put Draisaitl with McKinnon? I probably would. Draisaitl, McKinnon, Ransom. He can play either wing.
So, are you ready for the big one?
I am ready for your big one. Give it to us, Aaron.
Okay, so I was looking around
Giggity.
at different teams that are around the NHL, and there's one team I saw that I looked at their upcoming salary structure, I looked at what they have to sign, and I looked at where they are as a franchise, and I said they need a retool. They don't need a full rebuild. They still have some good pieces, but they need to retool. So what I do is I call up. This is at the draft. The Avs have already gotten the second overall pick. They've drafted Kakko. I send them. Then to the Anaheim Ducks, Tyson Barrie, AJ Greer, Shane Bowers, the Avs first for John Gibson and Ryan Kessler. I don't figure Anaheim to be moving Gibson, but if you come at them with a huge offer like that, where they get a first round draft pick in Bowers, and they get a player who they can trade at the next deadline for another first, that speeds up a retool and gets them. It sheds $12 million off their cap, so that they can actually sign guys like Silfverberg, like Henry Quinn is coming up. It gives them more cap flexibility. And we also take Ryan Kessler, who is just, he's not worth a whole lot at this point. So we're essentially taking on a salary depth to get a goaltender who is 26. Let me just double check that. A goaltender who we know what he can do, how he can start. And we just say, yep, that's our goaltender for the next 6 years. And that transforms us from a middling hockey team to one that can actually contend.
It's an interesting trade.
That's a lot.
Yep. It's a lot to process.
It's definitely a lot. And essentially you're trying to break down Anaheim's door to make him go, well, that's interesting. John Gibson is 25 currently.
No, Gibson is an outstanding goalie. If the Avs could pry him out of Anaheim, that'd be great.
It would be nails. It would be hard because the thing the Avs have been missing for over a decade is a legitimate goaltender who can steal you games, and just Gibson is the only thing keeping Anaheim afloat.
Yeah.
So pair him with Nathan McKinnon and Rantanen and Landeskog, and hopefully the Cale Makar is as good as we think he is, and you get one of your centers to emerge, whether that's Kerfoot, Joe Confer, and he's suddenly playing with the second overall pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, Aaron sent me like.
My goalie qualm.
So, I'm sorry. Say that again.
Say that again,
Could
Callie?
you say it again, Callie?
I said that would take care of my goalie qualms.
See?
Yeah.
And he's not huge. He's only 6'2", but he plays so big.
He does.
Well, he's bigger than 6 foot.
Yes.
So Varney is, he's 6 foot.
I think Varley's 6 foot.
Yeah.
Varley's like 6'1", isn't he?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I thought Varley was 6'0", and Groovy was 6'1".
I don't know. Yeah, Aaron sends me these things out of the blue sometimes in my DMs. I was like between classes one point, and this is the DM I get from Aaron. It's basically the trade he did there. He goes, "I just hatched the ultimate off season again." I was like, "Whoa."
Yeah, see, I'm not the best at trades, but
there's someone else that
y'all are good at it.
Yeah. It's fun, though. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to postulate, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It'd take a lot to go right. I'm a big fan. I would really like. I started looking at that because again I was listening to the 31 Thoughts podcast, and they were talking about Edmonton and their whole dilemma because they're all saying we're not going to rebuild, but we're not really looking to get rid of these things. It's basically they still think they're a playoff team, but they're not looking to rebuild. But they're not in the playoffs. But they're not going to take any. It's like they don't seem to know what messages they're sending.
They don't know what way up is right now
to anybody right now. And honestly, I mean, they don't want to talk to Connor McDavid and say, "All right, Connor, we're going to go through a huge rebuild right now. By the way, hope you're up for it."
They should trade for Matt Duchene.
Total, yeah.
I mean,
we're not rebuilding.
Yeah, that's going to be a divorce coming here soon as well.
Yeah.
It's the greatest hit in history.
Seriously.
Because Ottawa won't negotiate with him.
Yeah.
They're like, here's our number. He's like, that's not good enough. Well, that sucks because here's our number.
Well, that
okay,
sucks
bye.
because I'm going to go unrestricted.
I'm going to go back to Colorado, and then they're going to trade me for Wayne Simmons.
I mean, this is a huge, huge contract. This is the last big contract he's going to sign.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
He could go play in Vegas with Paul Stastny.
It wouldn't be the worst idea.
Get the Bang Bang dance back together.
Yeah, get the old Bang Bang dance back
together.
together.
He could go and be really good.
Yeah, there are. And he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
He is going to get paid a lot of money. I see Matt Duchene getting at least $8 million a year. Honestly.
I think that was on his offer, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what they started with, $8 million, and he wants. Trouble is, we're trying to set the market here, and we don't know exactly who's going to set it. It's going to be Austin Matthews. It's going to be Mitch Marner. It's going to be Mikko Rantanen, Patrick Laine.
I'm sorry. Do you mean
Mark
future
Stone.
Hall of Famer Mitch Marner?
Artemi Panarin. There's a lot of names that I don't know who's going to set the market there, but I'm very fascinated to see what
Jeff Skinner.
Skinner's a good one.
Yeah, Stone, of course. I mean, Ottawa's going to lose both those guys, which is it's rough. Stone genuinely seems to want to stay.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to stay for less than his market value.
I wouldn't blame him, honestly.
I think this is going to be one of the more fascinating off seasons that we've ever seen.
In quite a long time, for sure. There's just so many players coming up. I was at the BSN podcast the other day. Dater's holding out hope for an Avalanche Matt Duchene reunion.
Like so they can get Wayne Simmons.
Yes.
And fill the first-round pick.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it if the team could accept him back.
Yeah.
It just seemed kind of messy the way that he left.
Yeah.
And by messy, I mean Landeskog and Eric Johnson. It seemed like
well, I mean, again, I think everybody played that up far more than it was because yes, obviously they were saying we're happy. He didn't want to be here. That's fine. So we're glad that we've got a room now of people that want to be here. But then in the next sentence, they all said, every single one of them also said, he could have made this a gigantic circus, but he came to work and he worked his ass off every day, and he was a good teammate while he was here.
Yep.
Every single one of them.
There's some things I wouldn't love about him, but he is a good player, and we do need a second center.
We do need a second-line center who can win face-offs, and that is Matt Duchene.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's the one perk to my trade. We get Ryan Kessler, who, even though he's not great anymore, he still can win face-offs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's not sexy, it's not great, but if I'm similar to your trade, Kevin, if I'll take on a bad contract to snag something to fix a big issue.
Yeah, for sure. The big issue with mine is, of course, that no movement clause. If they can talk Lucic into waiving it, I'd be if that would make that deal happen, I'd be all for it. And let's face it, the Avs need a little bit of asshole in them.
Protect him anyway. So
yeah, no, I mean the Avs need a bit more asshole on their team. We were talking about with Wayne Simmons, and Milan Lucic is a gigantic asshole.
Yeah. He might be too much of an ass.
Yeah, that's why you feed him to the expansion team.
Yeah.
Or we're probably going to get a lockout in the next couple of years.
Oh God, that would be devastating for the league.
Like that?
I don't like saying stuff like that, but it's all heading that way. So
you got to think that with Seattle coming into the league, everybody involved has to know we cannot have a lockout.
No. You would think, but
Gary Bettman.
Yeah.
Well, the
Donald Fear.
Well, the owners need to be saved from themselves every 5 or 6 years.
True.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're just going to throw around these contracts. Oh wait, I don't have enough money.
Yeah,
looking at you, owner of the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
what do you mean?
I don't have money to sign my players. You just signed 2 players for $114 million
for 1,000 years each.
So, yeah. Shh.
It's fine.
Yeah. I think they're going to have to make some sort of negotiation around those, how much percentage of a contract can be given in bonuses this time around. Because,
probably.
Yeah, I mean, that's just going to have to be something. But I mean, both sides have got to look at it and go, we've got to have a season. We've got to have a season with this expansion team coming in.
Yeah.
Got to figure it out.
You got to figure it out.
So even if they do get the season, they do like to do compliance buyout options with the new CBA, even if they sign it on time. So
yeah.
With them trying to grow the league too, everybody knows that a lockout's not going to do that.
Nope.
You would think so.
Or maybe that would just grow women's hockey. Who knows?
Yeah, I just never sell short the NHL's ability to shoot itself in its own foot.
Yeah. Time and time again.
But at the same time, has it really? I mean, it's had all these lockouts, but each time the fans come back, the salary cap has grown from $36 million where it started to it's going to be more like $83 million now. Their income has never been higher. I mean, for a league that loves to stop showing its, it's just to stop its seasons, they're doing pretty damn well.
And
It's true.
it's not just lockouts. Their website is kind of behind the times. They're way, way behind on everyone else on advanced tracking and advanced analytics. Despite the fact their fans are way ahead of them, and they won't acknowledge that.
Yeah.
They're just they do a lot of things that are like, well, that would be fun, fans, but no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Well, so the season starts up again tomorrow.
Yes.
I wonder which Avs team we get to see tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sorry, Callie, I have to bring it up.
Oh, God. What are we bringing up? Drop the lines. Don't.
I'm sorry.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm sorry.
It's so frustrating.
The lines at practice today were apparently as follows.
Oh, God.
McKinnon between Kerfoot and Wilson. Soderberg between Landeskog and Rantanen. Comfer between Calvert and Nieto. And Dries between Andrighetto and Bork. Defensive pairings, Cole and EJ, Zad and Barry, Nemeth and Gerard. So Gerard is in a bit of a free fall here. And honestly, rightfully so. He's been
In a free fall.
terrible. He's been bad.
He's a young defenseman learning the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
20.
Well, I mean, for a guy who came in on the top pairing and looked like he belonged there. Wow, has he?
Yeah, but how
fallen
long does
off
it
this
take
year?
defensemen to develop?
Well, that's what they
100
always
games
say,
usually.
right? So what do you think of those lines, Callie?
I hate them with a burning passion.
He kind of says something that I feel the worst for Dries.
Yes. I want him to be with so many better people than he is, but they won't call up any better people and sit the worst people, and it's so frustrating, and I want to fight Jared Bednar.
Yeah, I do not understand their inability to. I mean, it's pretty much, honestly, it's pretty much AJ Greer. AJ Greer is doing nothing but score in the AHL. He has done nothing but everything he should be doing.
Well, hell, even Dominic Toninato, he played all of last season.
Yeah.
He's better than Bork. O'Connor was better than Bork. Why are we playing this Bork game? Just be done. I'm done. Be done.
Yeah. That fourth line is basically just what?
Scrubs.
Yeah, it's
It's
scrubbos.
basically just waste time until the top line can get back out there.
Pretty much. You look at what are you hoping to get from that?
Sheldon battles so hard. Why is he being punished?
I don't even know that he's necessarily being punished. It's just, we need someone to be down there. It's just
You're the low man on the totem pole.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, pretty much. I mean, you don't expect defense from Andrighetto. You basically, occasionally he gets in there, and Dries and Ghetto have had a few good, decent moments together throughout the year. But then there's just, the vacuum that is Gabriel Bork.
Yeah. Maybe that's why they put Dries with him. So they're like, you can counteract it. You'll be fine.
Can he, though?
I don't know. I don't know if anyone can.
Oh.
Maybe we should try top line forward, Bork. Just like we did top line forward, Matt Nieto.
Top line forward, Long Beach native, Matt Nieto.
Correct.
That
The
sounds,
longer the nickname, the better.
that sounds really, really awful all the way around.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fine. What are you talking about?
Speaking of top line forward, Long Beach native Matt Nieto, I actually don't hate that third line, the Comfer Nieto Calvert. I don't hate that.
I actually
like
the line.
I like Calvert and JT together, but I said at the beginning of the season I wanted Sven, JT, and Calvert, and I still maintain that I want that to be a line. Still maintain it.
Yeah, it'd be worth taking a look at for sure, if nothing else. I mean, it's been the line salad has churned out so many other different possibilities.
Right? Just never mind.
I actually came up with a new nickname for our head coach. I call it Jared Blendar.
That's a good one. I like that one.
Jared Blendar. That's good. That's a good one.
I do like JT back at center, though. I think he plays better in that role than as a wing.
Definitely.
It's just frustrating because everyone knows I want him to be with Mikko and Gabe. But, again, bias. But they've produced together when they're on the power play, so I think it's worth a shake.
I mean, I don't know what to think of the top two lines. I mean...
Well, and which one's the top line and which one's the second line?
Doesn't matter. It's going to change in a period.
I mean, it's going to have to, honestly.
Yeah.
I will say that in some of the moments where McKinnon and Wilson have found themselves on the ice together at the same time, because it's happened a few times where McKinnon has extended a shift and Wilson has been out there. They actually seem to have some decent chemistry with each other, mostly because Wilson. I feel like Wilson does like all the little things well, the basic little things that you need to do to be successful. He does very, very well. He goes to the net. He works really hard. He knows how to He knows how to get himself open, and just more than anything, he goes to the net. And McKinnon, of course, that opens up space for a guy like McKinnon who can then get the puck to the net, and that works. Kerfoot is Kerfoot, and who the fuck knows?
He's so frustrating.
Who knows? I mean, Aaron said it early on in the year, and he was dead on when he said Kerfoot was probably the one most in line for a fallback after last year, where he shot like 29%. Or so, it wasn't quite 29%, but it was up there. It was 20. It was high 20%, high 20-something.
I'll never forget his goal against Carey Price, or Montreal. I don't think Price was in the net, where he had the entire open end of the net to shoot at, and he shoots in the narrowest spot. It goes off the goaltender's elbow and in.
Yeah, he had the entire glove side of the net wide open, and he went 7-hole under the arm on the blockers.
Why make it easy?
Yeah. Do you like making it hard on yourself?
He definitely did not mean to do that, which I think you could tell with his face after the fact. He was like, "Oh, that went in."
Did you go up to your algebra teacher and say, "No, this is too easy. Can I get trig?" Actually, he went to Harvard, so that's probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like a economics major or something, wasn't he?
Yeah. Soderbergh, Landeskog, Rantanen. I mean, if there was
it's
a duo,
all lefties.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as I don't mind that. I don't really mind that so much. Rantanen's a natural right wing. He fits that. He fits there really well. He does his best work from that right side, so I don't hate that.
Well, and I mean that line has worked in the past, so I don't hate it all that much.
Yeah.
Hey guys, Ottawa lost again tonight.
Woo!
Oh, good.
So did Minnesota.
Oh, good. Better.
I mean, if the Avs can right their ship, then they will be. Then I can guarantee that it's like a guarantee they'll be a playoff team. They should be able to get back into that third spot in the Central, because everyone else in the West refuses to win. This is like the first season in the past 10 years where the Avalanche have been actually getting help from all the other teams in the Western Conference.
Uh-huh.
Every single other
team can't help themselves.
Yeah. Now they can't help themselves. Exactly right, Callie. It's crazy. Every other time for the last several years, anytime they were like within 2 points of the playoffs, they just needed one team to lose, one game, and nothing. Everybody. And not only would everybody win, everybody would play 3-point games.
And somehow everybody would be playing against each other, and they would still both manage to win.
Exactly.
Somehow.
Yeah, right. There would be those random 5-point games out of that.
Right. I don't know how that happened.
The ever elusive. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing going forward here. So let's see here. We also put out a little thing on Twitter, or Aaron put out a little thing on Twitter asking for you to send us some of your trade thoughts. Some of them have been very interesting. And so, some of you went silly, which is great. And others, I think, I don't know. What do you think? We saw Barry for Rene, straight up. The Preds would definitely go for that. Absolutely. Very fair trade. The best trade. That's from @NickTrem_17. The only thing you needed at the end of that one was Bigley. That would have finished that particular tweet off perfectly.
Yeah.
@DirtyDangles_1 says Barry and a third for McJesus. I'd go for that, sure.
That would make Jesus.
He creeps me out. He's so creepy.
He is, but he's a hell of a hockey player.
He's so creepy. Go to Edmonton and he's staring at you at every street corner.
Okay, that would get creepy.
That would get creepy.
Yeah. I was eating dinner and he was staring at me through the window pane.
That lifeless face.
It's like the creepiest thing ever. Don't go to Edmonton.
Wasn't on my to-do list.
And then they switch names, like lyrics for songs, and they just put his name in it, so then they're just screaming McDavid at you.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
We get it, Edmonton. You like Connor McDavid.
Right.
We get it.
So I say no, just because he's too much for me.
Well, to be fair, that likely would not happen in Denver. all the McDavid things.
It's like John Elway flashbacks.
Yeah. I was just going to say, not while the Broncos are still in town, that McDavid stuff wouldn't happen.
It's true.
Let's see. Sean_McDonald40 said, I suspect Dorian has Sakic's number blocked, but Stone Dzingel with a Stone contract finalized at 7 years for $8.75 million a year for the Avs first, Ottawa third, Jost, and Greer.
I don't know that that's enough. And I responded to him. I said, just use a burner.
Yeah, use that burner. I mean, that might not be enough for a good GM, but we are talking about Ottawa.
I think he's a little hesitant towards Joe at this point.
Just remind him that we're a team.
That's right. That's right.
Just pretend like you're going to give him pointers about Matt Duchene.
Yeah, send whatever
this is how you get Matt.
have the guy who gave him that gave the owner that awkward interview propose the trade. That would do it.
Just tell him to hold on to Duchene until next November when you're going to get 7 pieces from him.
Yeah.
You just neglect the fact that he's going to be somewhere else next November.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's fine. Just tell Matt that he's going to be traded and he'll re-sign with you. I promise.
Jacob
GA. Wow, that's a lot of numbers. 102-11996 says I would ship out Varley just to get Pavel Francouz to look for the rest of the year.
He's injured currently.
Yes, he is. That's right. That's right.
Unfortunately,
I heard you say he's a jerk.
He's a jerk.
He's a jerk. That
no,
guy.
Pavel's injured.
At Robot POZ says Varley. Just trade Varley. At Grumpy7447 says McQuaid for Bork and a third. I think that's
interesting.
That's all the ones I see. Do you have any other ones on your end that I'm not seeing?
I have one from the Denver Sports Italian, Nick Trem _17.
Oh, yeah.
Barry for Rene, straight up. The Preds would definitely go for that. Absolutely. Fair trade. Oh, yeah, you read that one earlier. I just love Nick.
Yeah, he's great. He's great. I'd sit with him in the press box at DU when I was covering some of the Pios games a couple years ago. A lot of fun.
He's a hoot during Rockies games as well.
Right on. Well, any last things to add? How many more draft picks should we send to the Rangers to get Kevin Hayes? What do you think?
All of them.
All of them?
Ever.
They
Infinity.
get to just draft they get to do our draft, and we get to decide whether they get them or we get them.
Gotcha. So we got to throw in Thanos' arm gauntlet as well. into this trade. I think that's fair.
Just snap our draft picks into dust.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think until he retires, they get all of them.
Makes sense for me.
Yeah.
Right.
And Zadorov.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and call it a podcast. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and sticking with us. Callie, thanks for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you.
Always a pleasure.
Aaron, thank you again, man. Always good to talk with you.
Oh, good to talk to you, too. We missed you.
Well, I miss being there. I do. I miss a lot of stuff. I also really like Oregon, but I do miss a lot of the Avalanche stuff and the people in Denver. So that is the tough part for sure. I wish y'all could have come with me.
Relocate the Avs to...
Yes! Bring it up to Portland.
Just, pick up the Pepsi Center in its entirety and ship it.
It'd be better than the Moda
But when we're
Center.
out of game, so I don't have to pay for the movie expense.
Yeah, fair enough. Makes sense. Right on. Well, thanks for sticking around, everybody. Enjoy. Hopefully the Avs will pick it up after the All-Star break here and get things going. Because, they're still they're still in the thick of it. And if they can just go ahead and take their own destiny into their own hands, then they'll be in a good spot going into the playoffs. So
I just want them to play well, win, lose.
Yeah, same.
Playoffs, no playoffs. I just want them to go out on play like we know they can.
You, sir, are asking way too much.
Yeah.
You might say I'm a dreamer, but I know I'm not the only one.
And on that note, we'll go ahead and call it a night, everybody. Have a good one. We will talk to you next time.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Dr. Nick.